Okay, we're recording.
Wonderful. Good morning. My name is Giselle Aguila, and this is my mentor, Miss Lauren Abruzzi. Thank you so much, Miss Abruzzi, for being with me.
You're welcome.
Today, we're going to do the post-observation for the math lesson for our 8th grade student, Owen.
Okay, so we'll get right into it. Give me a quick summary of what you of the lesson and your rationale behind everything, because it was so jam-packed, filled with such great modifications and adaptations, and you really met the need. I feel like you really met the needs of all the learners, especially Owen. So what was the rationale behind all of your procedures and how you did everything?
Okay, so the students had been learning about word problems. And I found that it was really important for them to understand the decoding aspect. There's the solving and there's the decoding. You have to decode before you can solve. So I kind of honed in on the concept of decoding. When we started off with the do now, I wanted them to show me what they remembered in terms of what they had learned about decoding. So I gave them a word problem and asked them to show me how they decode and how they would work out the word problem. And that segued into pretty much asking them how to interpret some words that they would find in a word problem and what mathematical operation goes with it. So, for example, like it says reduced by, they should be able to come up with, oh, that's minus,
Yes.
or it says is, that means equals. So I was looking to see how much they remembered from that aspect of decoding.
Yes. And they did. They did a good
Yeah,
job with it.
yeah, they did really well. Then as we went into the instruction, I worked through a word problem with them, but prior to that, I made sure to give them highlighters, or I gave them the option of colored pencils. I find that with this population of children, the novelty of using something else in the learning
Yes.
process, not just pen and paper, is a big deal to them. So the
Yeah.
highlighters provided them different colors, colored pencils. Some like colored pencils versus highlighters. That's fine too. Then I used the smartboard because I can use the colored pens on the smartboard to highlight the words that the words that we're decoding,
Yes.
which was great because then when I asked them to come up, I asked volunteers to come up to the smartboard. They also then use the color pens to underline and then underline the words that they are going to interpret and then to write the equations.
Yep. And I
So
have to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you for 1 second, but that is a real multi-sensory way of doing this because you added in your use of technology, but you also added in a kinesthetic piece to this whole and with math, getting them up and moving, and they got to write on the board and they were moving and they were using different colors, and just the novelty, like you had said, of going up to the board is so exciting for them. They were really excited about doing samples and doing examples, so I thought that that was pretty fantastic. I'm just making sure I don't miss anything. Yes, I had the highlighters down here. Your use of
yeah, and
technology.
I was
I think you're just lagging a little tiny bit. We'll probably let it just,
okay.
okay,
Can
I
you hear
think
me
we're
now?
back. We're good. Yep. So I was just talking about going up to the board and using that technology piece in the math. So important. Your use of highlighters. Um, sorry, I interrupted you. Go on and finish your summary.
Oh, so one of the other things that I found important also as I was developing the lesson is, you know, I want to tell them that we're going to annotate the word problems together. And obviously we know what the word annotate means. And I know that they've heard it before because they have been taught, they've
Mm-hmm.
been learning about word problems. But I feel that with this group of students, including Owen, it's really important to constantly remember, recall, help them recall the meanings of certain words.
Yes.
And annotate, I feel, is one of them. So
Yep.
when I brought it up and I said, okay, we're going to annotate the word problems together, then I stated to them, annotate means that we're going to write an explanation, because
Right.
what I saw was kind of like deer in headlights when I said the
Mm-hmm.
word. They're looking at me like, okay, can you say that again? you know. So It's like rephrasing, right? Rephrasing
Yes,
and
absolutely.
giving them clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And you explained everything so thoroughly in this lesson. You stated your objectives very clearly. You broke everything up into very manageable steps for them so they were able to feel successful. Um, the pacing of this was excellent. Your use of a word bank was fantastic. There's just so much goodness packed into this lesson. It went really well. I thought you did a fantastic job with it. Is there anything
Thank
for next time that you would adjust or change?
I feel like I thoroughly enjoyed watching them doing the paired activity where I gave them, I set them up by pairs and then gave them each a word problem A, word problem B. So they had
Yeah.
different word problems. And they had to then decode, underline, write the equation, solve it, but then they had to turn to their partner and explain their thought process.
Yes.
So I actually like this activity, and I feel like I would do another, in another lesson, I would probably spend more time doing more of these examples because it gives them kind of like it empowers them
Yes.
um, be able to explain, hey, this is how I'm thinking and this is
Yep.
how I figured it out. And I think it'll click even more in their minds of
Absolutely.
how the two-step word problem works.
Yeah.
So I would definitely want to provide more opportunities for
Right.
that kind of interaction.
Yep. And make sure when you do that, you start very simple because being able to teach something or explain it to someone else is typically the highest level of understanding. But they did a great
Mhm.
job with it. This was a fantastic lesson. It was great. I really enjoyed doing this with you. I'm so glad that you asked me to do this with you. It sparks me too.
Aw, that's
Teaching
so
for so
sweet.
long, it gives me a little spark, which sometimes I need.
Well, thank you so very much. This
You're
has been
welcome.
quite an interesting lesson. So,
Yes. Wonderful. All right.
thank you.
Moving on, right? You did a good
Yeah,
job.
yeah. All right. Thank